I wanted to say Intridea is actually very excited to be at this conference for a couple of reasons. One, we're happy to be a sponsor, but two, this conference is both for design and development. You know, usually conferences are kind of one or the other. So thanks, Pete, for having us. We're happy to be here. What I wanted to talk about today is just design and development when two must act as one. And really, what that means, first I should probably tell you about Intridea. So, sorry about that. We design and develop apps, web, iOS, Android, other platforms as well, depending on the client's needs. We're founded in Washington, D.C., and we work with what we consider to be really cool clients.
And we have about 40 full-time Intrideans. We work pretty much from anywhere. We are growing pretty quickly. We were featured in the Inc. 500. And we're looking for the best and smartest people, which means you. So please come and see us over in the next room. So quick intro, I'm Jürgen. I'm the managing director of the user experience team at Intridea. And Anthony?
Yep. And I'm Anthony Nyström, the director of mobile and emerging technologies. I guess we'll start with a question. User experience, what's that anyway? A lot of people here might already know what that is, but I come from the developer side, and developers really don't know what that means right now. And it's a bit of kind of an old school thinking. I remember the days when I was programming Symbian C++, J2ME, and we were all kind of forced to work within the UI kind of concept that was provided us from the device itself. There just wasn't a lot of freedom. Carriers controlled everything. And then in June of 2007, the world literally changed. I mean, overnight. That was, of course, the iPhone. The iPhone pretty much rocked the mobile world. It removed the carriers from that tight grip of control they had. It gave us a kind of a new concept, and that's the experience that a mobile app can bring. Before that, it really didn't matter, but after that, it did. And I think today, developers alone still may not understand how vital UX is, and how it means much more than just a pretty button, and that it's about behavior, and it's about experience, and it's quite abstract. And developers typically don't think that way. So we want to present the idea that we both have very strong skill sets, and we need to find and blend ways to work together because we believe as Intrideans that they are equally important.
So the question is, as a team, how do we create a real quality product? And then, of course, you guys can talk about process and methods, Photoshop versus doing it right in HTML. But at the core, we're looking for a really good recipe. And there are 4 or 5 things that go into this recipe. The first one that we think is knowledge. And that means you have to understand the user, you have to understand the industry, and you have to understand the actual business. The next one is you really have to have vision, because you have to go beyond your initial knowledge to really break things and make something new that nobody has seen yet. Especially when you think about building mobile apps, we do this every day, where we have to break what we thought 3 years ago was the standard. After that, you really have to focus, because once you have the knowledge, once you have the vision, for the mobile device, you really have to focus and have the courage to simplify and get rid of all the second-class features to make sure that you have a really good experience. And then, of course, the next one, which is close to my heart, you have to make it pretty. So design it, be bold, be unique, and build a brand. The next one, of course, you have to build it, and that's why we have Anthony. Embrace change and work with the designer to really build a great experience. And then, of course, the last one, which is the most important, pushing out the final product that really has quality from the code base to the UI, really takes a team effort. It takes execution. So every little pixel, every little detail really works flawlessly. And at the final, you do have a quality product, and we apply that to our own work as well as for our clients on an everyday basis. So the question is, what's the DNA of a quality product? Actually, that's my line. Developers are part of the design process. Me as the designer, I know about the design, so it's my responsibility to bring in Anthony as close as possible to the process.
And myself as a developer, I need to acknowledge and embrace that designers are also part of the development process, that we both serve critical needs, and that gives us what we'd like to call a balanced team. It may sound a little simplistic, but I think it's a lot about mentality. Developers need to understand and realize that UX now is just as important as the app's basic functions. Without either, it simply is not a quality product. Just as an example, what happens if they are not balanced? Recently, or maybe a couple years ago, NASA celebrated Women in Space. So they had this really great idea to build a space shuttle cake. So I mean, it was certainly sounded nice and balanced, but there were a couple things that weren't taken into consideration.
And so they built this cake of a full real-life space shuttle, and it looked really, really nice at first, but the designer and the developer, the builder of this cake, didn't foresee the warmer temperature in this room, so the cake started to melt, surely but slowly, and the cake turned into a somewhat different launching device, and for a while it became the joke on the internet, and I'll leave this up to you to extend and create all sorts of punchlines about it.
So first, I think it's good to create some steps, or at least define some steps. How do we create a balanced team? There are a couple of ways. You can hire a Superman or a Superwoman. You can hire specialists with skills. You can hire an all-in-one kind of individual, the designer for example. And don't get me wrong, they're good at special ops projects. However, they're hard to find. They typically do not scale, and they don't function well in teams, and therefore get bored easily. Or you can hire specialists with skills, such as a designer or a developer specifically. As well, find someone in that realm there who has just some great core strengths that then you can build off of. Maybe like an 80-20 split of core strengths and 20% desire or 20% interest in their platforms. But certainly doesn't think in silos, just wants to think outside of the box, but is willing to work as a team player.
Great. And then how to create a balanced team. As we all know, just hiring people doesn't create a team overnight. So one of the things that we do at Intridea, and some ex-Intridians in this room too that notice, first thing that we like to do is basically team building. And what we do is we assign an internal project to the designer and developer. That's sometimes a small product that they build over the weekend. It doesn't have a large business plan or a huge strategy. It's just something fun that they want to do and build. The next thing, that team is in the field working with a client on a sort of medium-sized client project. So it's just the two of them solving problems for a client. And then, of course, the next thing is the large team, where the core design and development team become the lead of a much larger project. And as we all know, the two people alone can't lift a really, really huge project, so it needs more. But from the top down, those two lead people really can launch pretty much anything. Yeah. And for that, we have 2 case studies.
The first case study is a product called Surfiki. It's an internal product of Intridea's. little bit about the technology. It's basically an indexer or crawler of content. In this particular example, it's displaying content from news sources, but it also processes for sentiment as well as semantic keyword generation, pipeline processing, real-time processing of information by days or by dates, a very powerful analytics tool. And which represented a challenge from a design perspective because we have an enormous amount of data. How do we display that data so that's engaging to the user? How do we implement all the different features? And that's where I relied heavily upon Jürgen, and Jürgen will tell you more about that.
Creating this UI for this product at first seemed quite daunting because there's so much content coming in very, very fast, and building the controls for a very fast changing content stream wasn't the easiest thing. And as you all know, when you look at Twitter, I mean, you stare at it and the streams just keep coming in and coming in and coming in, and you read them, but you can't really, sometimes you read them or you skip them, and with those tools and filters, it allows you to absorb or filter out some of that content, so it will actually help you to get through the mountain of information. And I'm looking at the clock, so then we have another one.
Yeah, another example here is a product we built for Agilicis. This is a mobile point-of-sale system. This really represents a lot of complexity from a back-end perspective. It was integrating with an existing legacy system that's been around for many years. So you had kind of this old school on the left, but then you had this desire to produce this, incredible mobile interface for a point of sale system where most of the time people just think buttons are kind of ugly and whatever. So we got a good opportunity to do something fantastic, and it's a good example of that.
Yeah, this was a really awesome project for us, for the entire team. This is a real, it had to be a really fast UI, no distractions, it's all business. Failures are not an option here in the interface or on the tech side. We had a lot of fun testing this out in the field with users, and the biggest satisfaction for us, for the UX team, was seeing this app in the hands of users without telling them really actually how to use it. We just gave them the thing and say, okay, start taking orders. And they start taking orders, they figured it out, which is the biggest satisfaction when you have an app where you don't need an actual manual to start using it. And a POS system has a lot of options. I mean, even just the lunch menu, you order a steak and then you have 15 different side orders, and it gets complicated rather fast, but doing all that in a very simplified UI was a lot of fun for us, and it's an awesome case study for us, like how we can take a product, a UI that really looks dusty, like Windows 95 bad, and we're bringing it forward and really changing the entire industry. So it's a really awesome product for us, and it's built with Rails.
Well, yeah, part of it.
Part of it.
We also built a web version as well as the native version. So really what these case studies represent are two very specific detailed skill sets working together. And I know that, again, that comes across very simply, but for all the developers who are out there who still think that they're kind of masters of the entire mobile domain, you're not. I used to think that as well, but I love the idea of offloading parts, the abstract design process to someone who is truly amazingly skilled at it, and he enjoys handing off that development process to myself. It makes for a more agile process. It not only allows for a more peer review, which is obviously a proven technique of creating a successful product. So hopefully you will absorb this and think that, yeah, maybe designers are kind of their own people and developers are their own people, and let's make sure we work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much.